Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Watari-kun's Is About to Collapse, Season 1, Episode 6. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, everyone's back home after the whole beach getaway situation, and especially how last episode ended off with Satsuki kissing Naoto, as well as saying all that she said to him. It's kind of got him thinking, like, what was she talking about? What did she mean back then? Am I really the bad guy? And so he remembers the day before she destroyed the garden. He remembers, like, wait, there was something that was going on. They were watching, like, this movie or some program that was kind of these lovers running away together. And for whatever reason, Naoto was like, oh, we should do that. And she jumped at the opportunity. Now, besides that program being the thing that instigated it, we don't know. Like, there had to be something else going on at the time that would make Naoto even consider doing that. And Satsuki's willingness to just go along with it, I think, kind of lends itself to the fact that we don't know what her home life is. So the fact is that they went off together, like, yeah, let's go far, far, far away. And then they did, and it's like, well, let's go a little farther. But when it got nighttime, they ended up coming back. And she ended up walking back home by herself. And it's like, oh, do you, like, Naoto's parents are like, oh, like, you sure you don't want us to walk you back or something? She's like, no, I'm fine. And at first, Naoto can't remember. He's like, I don't remember what expression she had on her face when she was walking away. And so the whole thing has kind of got him confused about, like, that day before, and that's literally the day before the garden situation happened, and then she disappeared out of my life for 6 years. So he went over to her place, and she, kind of made it perfect like last episode, like, almost like if I'm tired of you stringing me along, so just, like, leave me alone if you're just going to keep stringing me along. You're giving me false hope. And so Naoto's like, telling her, it's not that I dislike you. It's not even about the garden thing for him. It's like, it's because you disappeared on me. The fact is that you disappeared, and I thought, because he was getting on her case about, like, right, you didn't show up at the garden, like, you're not helping out even though you promised that you would. And she was like, no, I told you that I was going to stay away from you, because if we get too close, what did I tell you? I'm probably going to end up destroying something else, so you might as well keep her distance from me. It's not as much for Naoto's sake. I think it's, well, for his sake, but I think it's also her own self-preservation. She's trying to, like, protect her heart, because it all stems from whatever went down 6 years ago. Whoever it was that kind of put her up to destroying that garden. Like I said, I don't know if it's an older sibling. I don't know whether it was, like, a family member, family friend, her father. Like, we didn't get good enough look at the person. They were definitely an older person that took the hoe from her after she did what she did to the garden, because Suzu saw her and still hasn't told her brother about that. That conversation might be a lot closer on the horizon than we might initially think, because this episode felt like it could have been a great opportunity for Suzu to bring that up, but I think the tomato she gave him to give to her was supposed to be this small olive branch, because, well, she did make Suzu say, like, right, you didn't see anything, you must be thinking wrong. Like, Suzuki, like, scared her and got to put her in a place to be like, you don't say anything, let your brother continue thinking I was the issue. And she even says, like, when Naoto was like, no, it wasn't because of the garden thing, it's because you ran and you left and you never came back, and she's like, oh, go figure. It's like, I think that's her playing coy with the fact that she knows, like, maybe she did just assume, like, oh, you knew I destroyed the garden, you blame me for that, and that's why you hate me. But it's like, oh, maybe that's not what you hate me. There's a little bit more. So it's like, oh, so you do care about me. So, and when she tries to, like, reach out to him, he kind of pushes her away. And that's, like, the push and pull of it all for her. It feels so unfair, because it's like, she talks about it later on with Toki. It's like, it feels like you're giving me false hope. I'm allowing myself to believe that if I just reach out, I can touch it. But I know if I reach out and touch, it's going to shatter. It's all going to come falling apart. And she's stuck between, she feels like she can't be around Naoto without that part of herself wanting something more. It's the thing of, she wants him to be happy and everything, but it's also like, I want to be with you, I think, and whatever that capacity may be. And it's just, I'm trying to protect myself, and I am trying to also protect you in your own, in my own way too. But it's like, it's hard. It's tough on me. Like when the person that you're kind of longing for is right there, so close, but it's so sensitive. The situation could easily shatter, and I don't want that. I don't want to cause more harm than good, so that's why I'm pushing you away to protect both of us. Because she even asked him, like, oh, does that mean, like, you still like me? And he's like, no, that was in the past. And for her, that's kind of like not what she wanted to hear. So it's like, oh, so there is zero chance. So once again, every time I get my hopes up, they're immediately shattered and broken. And I'm trying to protect myself from this. So she leaves and goes off on her own playing hooky. And she runs into Toki. And despite everything, Naoto has such a hard, like, he has a hard time reading people. Cliche shonen protagonist, sure. But he can't tell what's up with Satsuki, and it's like, oh, he's like, you're going, but Toki comes up and he's like, oh, you're going through something, right? And she's like, I don't know what. She's like, it's creepy how you're able to read me. And he's like, at the end of the day, she's like, it's Naoto's fault, because she's like, it just feels like she's constantly being put in this situation. And Toki's like, what is it that you want? And she says, I want, and we as the audience can't hear it, but Toki does. And Toki's like, oh. And she's like, you and Naoto could never understand, which Toki's like, I get it, even just a little bit. And I'd assume it has to be with, like, it could be two things. One, it's the whole conversation, I want to be with someone I know I can never be with. And he's like, I get that, because he seems to have feelings for there, at least whether it's kind of exactly like Naoto and Satsuki things where, like, he had feelings for her way when they were younger, and he's still bottling them up. And so now the two people they respectively have feeling for, Toki and Satsuki, the people that they have feelings for are completely oblivious to their feelings and actually end up inadvertently have feelings for each other type of situation. So, but the fact is that Toki was like, I get it a little bit. So either that's what it is, which I already feel like is a little bit it is, or part of me wonders if, like, she's like, I want a family, and she's like, you'll never understand, because they do have him. Because regardless of how complicated his circumstances are, maybe it's like complicated things are with his aunt, who has issues with him because it's a reminder of her brother. He at least has Suzu. He does have family, and I've talked about it before. It seems like there's something complicated about Satsuki's family, considering her living arrangement. Because it's like, because even when Naoto goes in there, there's like there's nothing in there. The place isn't furnished. Like, she has like a dresser and stuff, but it's very bare bones. And I guess he never, with everything going on and her kind of, I think purposely kind of distracting him, catching him off guard so he doesn't pay too much attention to her living situation. He'd never really given it much thought before, which I immediately was like, yo, she's living in a rundown place. You're not questioning why she's not living with her parents, why she's living on her own. Not unless he just, because I was like, not unless he's assuming that her parents live there too, but I was like, no. But anyway, we'll get to that later. So Naoto is making his way to school. Obviously, Yukari made her big declaration to Satsuki last episode that when they got back home, like, she would confess her feelings to Naoto, but it's like, it's a lot harder than she thought it'd be. So every time she tries to take the time to do it, they get interrupted, because now all the guys know her and Fujioka were never a thing. So it's like, oh, like, hey, all of them are trying to take that opportunity, and it makes Naoto sink even deeper, because he's like, oh, like, I tried to get closer to Yukari, which I kind of did, but he's also like, where is our relationship? Where do we stand? He's so caught up in the Satsuki of it all, he's not paying attention when she's like, oh, hey, can I talk to you about something? And he completely doesn't hear her and just keeps walking. She's like, oh, I guess the timing's wrong. Then she's like, hey, like, can we walk home together? And it's like, oh, actually, you have that committee meeting because you guys are going to have to, like, clean the pool. She's like, oh, I guess I'll go. Then she's changing, being like, well, I'll give up for today, but I'm going to try again later. Ends up running, history repeating itself, him walking in on her, and she's like, well, what are you doing? Turns out she was so frazzled she went into the boys' changing room, so he's closing it, trying to, like, keep the other guys out. So they eventually leave because they're like, oh, I guess the door's stuck, we'll change near the pool. And so Yukari's like, no, you stay here, just turn around and I will tell you. And she's just, bringing up the fact is the past being what it is. It's like, oh, it's funny we find ourselves in these situations again, but for her, it's like, she wants to be able to take this opportunity to finally talk to him about everything. And it's just like, I've always, and before she can say anything, I think like the gym teacher or whatever knocks him over on top of her. He's touching her boobs and she accidentally slips out the word liked you. And he's almost like, wait, what? And she runs off. And so later on, they're at the school gate. And he's like, oh, I'll see you. She's like, wait, that's all you're just going to do? You're just going to see me and just try to run away? She's like, do you want to go out? And he's like, wait, you like me? And she's like, mm-hmm. And he's like, wait. And she's like, you don't have to give me an answer right now, but like, what do you think about that? And immediately tries to run away, and she slams her face into the gate, and then she turns around with like such a cute smile and runs away. And for Naoto, it's like, this is all he's ever wanted. It's like, this is a girl I've admired, I've had feelings for, I wanted to get closer to her, and now the girl I had a crush on confessed to me, which I wasn't expecting her to actually pull through with it. I thought it would be a will they, won't they. Well, it still is, but I thought it'd be more so like she would never muster up the courage to actually say it, but she did, despite complications. I thought like, oh, this is just going to be the rigmarole of, no, by the end of the day, she managed to still do it, but she's like, you don't need to give me an answer right now, so... I also love that the moment he comes home, he has to deal with his sister because she saw him at Satsuki's place and is like, yo, when we get home, we're going to talk about it. It's like, Jesus Christ, she's so possessive. I mean, especially because they were separated because, like, he went on to his beach trip, she kind of went on hers, and now we're reunited. It feels so good to be home and with each other again. And then it's like, oh, first thing you do when you come back home is try to go over to a girl, like, sparking stuff up. It's like, no. Because Susie wants to be the only girl and the only woman in his life, essentially. It's like, well, our aunt is one thing, but it's like, I don't need you. Like, because it stems from, like, her fears when she was younger of how much time Naoto and Satsuki spent together. I think that's also another reason why she's perfectly fine not saying anything about Satsuki back then, because it's also like, right, I get to keep you to myself. That was my biggest concern back then, and that's why she's so like, no, like, he's mine. Like, you being around all these women, I'm trying to push them away because I want to be the only one in your life, because they both become very codependent on each other in that regard. And once again, considering what they've been through, it makes sense. Either way, Suzu was like, yo, did anything go down at school? He's like, nope, absolutely not. She's like, well, did you and Satsuki make up? It's like, fine, take these tomatoes over to her place. He goes over and obviously sees her place in the state that it's in, but then also he notices like, oh, she has a calendar and it says work. She's pretty much working a part-time job like every single day. I don't know what the work rules are for teenagers in Japan. I don't, because that's also like work. Japan has a very different relationship with the workforce in comparison to like the US. So I think even like, it's not like it's an apples to oranges situation. So that's why, but especially on the teenager front. But that struck a chord with me when we see, like, for one, her calendar's filled with work and stuff. But I'm also like, well, it makes sense because whatever this is, so that also shows her family isn't supporting her financially. She's self-funding herself. She's working just to be able to afford the place and probably like afford whatever she needs for school. Like, that's 100% coming out of her own pocket. That's probably also why the place isn't really furnished, because it's like, well, I need to like heavily like be frugal with my money just so I can manage to survive. So seems like she works kind of like I think they were saying like almost like this Chinese maid cafe type of deal, and she sees Naoto in the crowd and gets pissed because it kind of goes back to what was it, episode, was it 4? The whole like it's a difference between showing and being seen, like him seeing her like that versus like, oh, I'm showing. Once again, it's like it's a power dynamic. It's like a power control thing. I've kind of continued to interpret it as, but she's like, yo, what are you doing here? And it's like he's just like trying to like talk to her, but then like her coworker who's in the mascot outfit kind of passes out from heat stroke, so he has to immediately take over and they have to work together. He gets knocked into her like between her legs and she's just like, whatever, like, let's just get back to work, just get off of me. And it's just, once again, she can get flustered and caught off guard sometimes in moments like that. Some guys were hitting on her, so he kind of scared them off, but he was kind of fulfilling it. I think some girls like taking photos with him, it seemed like it irked Satsuki a little bit too. And like him getting like that attention, even though like it wasn't like that for him, but I think she didn't really like that or appreciate that Either way, when the work was done, she's asking like, oh, she's gonna just walk away. He was like, no, like we need to talk. Like she's like, the fact is that you broke into my place. And he's like, no, like the lock was messed up. She's like, it's still unlawful entry. And he's just like, yo, you need to get that lock fixed. So someone, she's like, why does it matter? Why do you care? It doesn't matter. He's like, your family's got to be worried about you. And she's like, they aren't. So either she ran away from home to do all this and it's just kind of a thing of her family really doesn't care and just haven't bothered, or they specifically kicked her out. We'll have to wait to see. But there's definitely some tumultuous stuff going on in that family. But eventually Naoto's like, I do care. She's like, oh, you do? And then he says the lines like, you're my childhood friend. That was like, she basically got friend zoned in that moment. And she's trying to play up being like, yeah, I'm your childhood friend, right? So that means I can stay in your life and stay beside you. And he's like, yeah, sure. It's not what she wanted to hear. Being friend zoned in that moment hurts probably even more. Because it's like, regardless of you wanting to just be friends, I don't want to just be friends. I do want to be more, but... Because Naoto, I can't remember where it was earlier. I think it might have been in that instance, or maybe it was at a different point. He finally remembered what her face was like all those years ago. He was like, she turned around and smiled, but he's like, even as a kid, I could tell it was a sad smile because she didn't want to go home. And when he was like, oh, I'll see you tomorrow, she probably knew like what tomorrow meant. Like, there was no guarantee because this was supposed to be like their getaway. Like we could, just for a little bit, we got to pretend like we were going to run away, but it's like we dragged ourselves back here because it's like, oh, like for Naoto, it's almost like a play pretend, and she was playing pretend too, but it was also a lot more serious for her because she didn't want to come back. But as a thing of, I mean, we didn't get that conversation on what it was like when they eventually did come back late at night, but like I said, we don't know what her family life was for her to expect. Like, I don't know if that's what pushed the garden situation to be what it was, them coming back so late, and they like took it like, well, her family took it out on her like that, and this was like the last straw, and that's where like it all fell apart. There's still so much we don't know in that capacity. But it's just a situation of like being friend zone like that, and it's hard to tell whether Satsuki is like, okay, I'll take it. It sucks, and it's going to be such a hard thing, but I will take it because I'd rather have you in my life in this capacity, no matter how much it's going to hurt me, if it means I get to keep you in my life. Or is it just kind of a thing of, you want me close by, so fine, I'll take what I can get type of thing. I don't know how to quite take that reaction. It's like her hiding behind a mask for sure. It's just what she's planning on getting out of it and what she is really feeling beneath that mask is, the thing in question. So, but later on when he walks her home, she's like, oh, about the whole Yukari of it all, did she confess to you? And he's like, well, yeah, she did. And he was like, but I don't know how to really respond to it, because he's like, it's kind of what I wanted, it's like, but I don't know how to really feel about it. And she's like, oh, you're so wishy-washy. But she's like, is that what you expected me to say? She's like, at the end of the day, agonize over it. Figure out how you feel and respond to her. And it's like, no matter what the outcome may be, don't let anyone else make you feel bad. Because at the end of the day, the decision is yours, and that's all that matters. And it might not be what other people might judge you for. It might think this about you, but it's like, don't let what they think matter. Like, at the end of the day, you just be honest to what you feel and what you want. And so the episode ends with him in front of Yukari, and and he's going to respond to her. I don't think it's going to be a thing of, yeah, let's go out. I think he's like, give me time to figure stuff out. So that's probably going to be where things go, sadly. She's not going to get the response she wants, and we'll see how things kind of play out going from there. Especially with the Satsuki of it all, but also just like, what does he want out of this situation with Yukari? Because yes, he likes her, but it's like, I think whether he realizes or not, the Satsuki of it all probably has complicated it. But there's also probably like a million other factors that play into it. His sister, his family situation, there's stuff he hasn't properly dealt with that he's dealing with that he doesn't like. It's like being true to his feelings isn't an easy thing for him, because he's kind of like always kind of put his sister first for the past 2 years, and hasn't really, he's kind of slowly working his way up to like coming out of his shell in that capacity, but it's still been kind of a hard road for him to kind of handle. Like, because it's all kind of hitting him all at once, where it's like, yo, I've been pining over this person, and now it's like, oh, they literally said that they like me and they want to go out, and it's like, but his greatest fear is like, I'm worried that if I do respond to her feelings, like, I'm just going to disappoint her. I'm going to let her down. Because I think he even says himself, he has no confidence. And that's why it never crossed his mind, like, oh, she might like me too. I like her, but maybe, and he probably doesn't even realize, like, he's like, yeah, I liked Suzuki when I was younger, but it never crossed his mind that she might still have feelings for him, that she might not just be toying with you, even though, like, she does what she does, because I think it's her overcompensating. But it's just a lack of self-confidence and just feeling like he doesn't feel like he's worthy, and he just feels like he's letting everyone down, that he's going to be a disappointment. Hey, once again, I'm the king of self-esteem issues, so I'm right there with you, homie. So, but yeah, we'll have to wait to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. I believe we're at the halfway point of the season, roughly speaking, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens next. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.